You're listening to Captain John Doe, real aviation stories told anonymously. Let's get into it. Doe heads, welcome back to another episode of the Captain John Doe podcast. I'm your least favorite host, Mindy.
I'm your most favorite host, Kevin. It is the favoriteest day in the Lindheim household up in the North Georgia foothills. It's Wednesday, and we got another banger for you in the Doehead Production LLC.
So, we got to fly our airplane yesterday.
We did.
But it was kind of a doozy, and we want to tell you guys the story about it because there's a big takeaway about proficiency and external pressures. Let me tell you, we woke up yesterday and made plans to go meet our friends at this airport, St. Simon's Island in Georgia. It's on the coast of Georgia, over by the ocean.
The ocean.
And so SSI, for those of you who may not have heard of it, it is the most popular fly to lunch airport in the Southeast USA, hands down. Would you say so?
Yeah, I'd say all the Riddle Knots love to go there on their cross
When
country.
I was a Riddle Knot, Embry Riddle, go Eagles, we used to fly there on our cross country. And that was the only time we ever got to do anything fun at Embry Riddle. And it was like a one-time thing. And I remember when I flew there on a cross country, I thought it was the shit because I flew from Florida to Georgia. And that was my first time crossing a state line. And I remember calling my mother saying, "Mom, I flew myself to Georgia for lunch today." And she was like, "What the hell?
What are you doing, little Mindy?"
Which is like, what am I paying for? What the hell?
So we wanted to go get some barbecue.
Well, okay, tell them about the barbecue spot real quick.
All right, so the barbecue spot's just about 2 blocks away from the airport. Banger Barbecue.
It's called Southern Soul Barbecue, and you don't even need a courtesy car. If you land and go to the FBO, it is a 2-block walk.
2-block walk.
You can handle it.
Get
You got
your
a
steps
medical.
in.
Yeah.
So that was the goal. We did some flight planning the night before. Came up with that we probably needed to leave St. Simon's to head back to Georgia in the early afternoon because the thunderstorms were happening. So the stage is set. We get up in the morning, and guess what, Mindy? It's low IFR everywhere. And
To be expected. And I see that every morning.
Right.
You don't really live here. I do. And I'm like, it's fine, Kevs. It clears up around 9:30, 10 a.m. because I know that at our flight school, the 7 a.m. blocks, are, unless they're IFR training, and sometimes even if they are, it's really low, they're all getting canceled right now. And the 10 a.m. blocks are always good to go. It's always good by 10.
Right, and that's exactly what the TAS and the METAR said. So we drive over to Mojo, which she's not that close to us. She's about 50 minutes away. Have
Right.
the plane fueled up, do our pre-flight, and the clouds are still not lifting. So we just kind of sit there and we give ourselves some time. And I'd say a good hour goes by of nothing.
Let's set the stage a little about our capability of the plane and what the weather was.
Sure.
Mojo, if you guys don't know, it's a 182. And we did an incredible Garmin Aviation panel upgrade on it. It is fully IFR certified. Kevin and I are both IFR certified and extremely IFR proficient. Just setting the stage on how even we make decisions. The IFR weather of low IFR and IFR airports stretched along our hour and 45-minute flight to our destination over an hour's worth. That's how long it would take for us to reach the first VFR airport on our route. That's an easy no-go for Mr. Kev and I. And again, we're extremely proficient, current, and the aircraft is capable. I just want to let that set in for anyone listening who's ever felt bad about canceling or delaying a flight, felt that guilt of your wife or your husband looking at you like, aren't you capable of this? We've all been in that seat. Kevin and I are so lucky that we're both pilots and we both understand how these decisions are made. But for a lot of you listening, your family and friends may not be pilots that you're flying, and they will ask you questions like, well, can't you do this? And your answer is, yes, I can. Aren't you rated? Yes. is the aircraft, like, isn't the plane able to do this? Yes. And they're like, well, why the hell are we not going? And you're like, well, because it's not safe. Well, why is it not safe to get in the plane? And then you start feeling the heavy guilt of delaying. And I will say a luxury of being married to another pilot is the understanding of why this is a no-go. All you pilots listening probably just understand, shaking your head of, yeah, I get why they wouldn't want to go, especially for a freaking joy flight. It's not like we were transporting a heart to a patient in SSI Southern Soul Barbecue, even though the people eating there probably need one.
Right. So the listeners right now, Mindy, are saying, then what's the pressure? Well, I'll tell you what the pressure is. Kevin has been gone for 3 months. Mindy hasn't stopped painting the wall for 3 months. And somehow we had...
You think that's all my renovations are? Just painting walls? How dare you? How dare
Somehow we had a day off together where we wanted to go fly our airplane on a joy flight. And guess what, guys? That's called pressure.
Because we need to keep the airplane flying. That way it doesn't get corrosion and doesn't, a sitting machine, whether you're into cars, airplanes, motorcycles,
And my
boats.
favorite thing to do with you is to fly in our little airplane together. Our best date days are doing that. So the pressure is mounting.
Yeah, this is our only time together to go fly our plane. First world problems. I get it, but it's a problem.
Right. So with all that being said, because of our decision making, because I have an excellent instructor who taught me, we kind of put a timestamp on the SSI plan. And guess what? That came and went. So then I start pivoting. I'm looking north and everything is VFR. Everything is showing no thunderstorms.
And clear. Let's be clear about the clear. We checked METARs on no less than 10 airports just north of where we were at an airport called Jackson County, where Miss Mojo lives and thrives. And all of them said clear in a million.
Clear, taps, nothing. Clear.
You guys know where this is going? You know where this is going.
So we make the decision. We refile because it's still 800 feet overcast at Jackson County.
I am comfortable in our plane to punch through a layer all day, every day. However, my departure airport, for me, my personal minimums in Mojo specifically, my minimums change on what aircraft I'm flying, and we can get into that conversation another time. But in our aircraft, a plane that I know and love and trust, but is still a 1957 old airplane, single engine, my personal minimums in Mojo is 800 feet. And there's more to that story, and it's more about when you leave an airport, you have to anticipate getting back into it. Let's say you take off and there's a problem and you have to reshoot an approach to get back in. What are your minimums to get back in, right? That's how you have to think about it. So yeah, Part 91, we can take off whenever we want. It can be as
blindfolded,
crappy weather as possible, and we are legally allowed to take off. However, with Mojo, I'm going to keep this really short and simple. When we come in on an approach, our flap speeds to put flaps in order for us to get slow enough to land are extremely low airspeeds. And so when you're flying an approach, you don't want to be flying that slow because it is quite slow. We have to get below 86 knots basically for us to add any flaps in, but we fly our approaches at 90 to 95. So for me to break out and then add flaps and safely land, continuing a stable approach, it needs to be 800 feet. Because if I were to break out at 200 without flaps in yet, it's not going to be a stable approach. That's what I'm getting at. So it finally lifts to 800. I'm like, okay, great. Surrounding airports, similar. They're all agreeing with each other. In about 10 minutes of our flight, we'd be in clear VFR flight, is what it all said. All the airports, clear. So anyway, then we look at PIREPs. If you guys are not familiar with PIREPs are pilot reports. That means pilots that are really out there flying report to ATC what the weather really is. So as pilots, we get all this weather information and we get really great reports of what the bottoms of clouds are, or what we call the bases. So we know the base is at 800 feet. We're confident of that. But what are the tops? Are we going to climb to our 7,000 feet cruising altitude and still be in clouds? Or are we going to get to about 1,000 feet and break out and it's going to be clear sunny days and then we're cruising in blue skies? That's what we're waffling on. So we find a PIREP that is relatively recent and in our area that says that the tops were at about 1,800 feet. So I was like, okay, we climb. We're going to get in the clouds at 800 feet, have 1,000 feet of climbing, which is going to be less than a 2-minute flight in clouds until we're above the clouds and it's sunny days. You guys know where this is going, right?
Absolutely.
Well, the climb out wasn't terrible. We popped out at 3,000 feet, but it was some thick stuff. I was kind of expecting it to be much thinner, wispier, because at the airport, we could kind of see the sun breaking through every once in a while. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, all the information we're getting is adding up to what we believe to be true. But we go through some thick stuff, real thick, come out at 3,000 feet, and we're expecting 10 minutes down our flight is going to be wonderful.
And guess what it was not, Mindy?
Wonderful.
It was towering cumulonimbus everywhere. Everywhere. Our plan was to get on top, cancel IFR, go VFR, skirt around the mountains, and go land at this cute little valley airport up in North Carolina.
You think it's cute?
Well, I don't know. We didn't see it. I think... But anyways, we start flying and it quickly dawns on us that that's not the case. This is going to be on top of the ODP, the obstacle departure procedure we just had to fly at our untowered airport. We're going to have to do deviations all the way to our destination, which is exactly what happened.
To break it down again, I know we have a lot of non-pilot listeners, so I just like to point out real quick, when you're flying IFR, you are bound to a very specific heading. And let's say you're on this very specific heading and there's these massive towering clouds in front of you that are full of aggressive turbulence. You are expected, per the ATC FAA rules, to keep on trucking through it unless you ask and get granted what's called deviations, which means you can deviate off of your flight route. So we ask for those, which means that then we can turn our plane and pick around these massive turbulent clouds. So we're doing that for most of the flight.
Right, which is nothing unusual, by the way. I know people are listening, well, what are you talking about? Nothing's unusual.
But it was meant to be clear.
Right, it was meant to be clear. We were meant to go back home, in an hour or two. But guess what? Mindy and I have seen this story play out before. If it's 11:30 and we're seeing clouds towering 30,000 feet and we're deviating every single way, and by the way, we're still in the clouds while deviating. We're just missing the big juicy ones. So we get really close to Western North Carolina and Mindy starts saying, hey, Kev, I don't think that we should probably hang out here. And I already was thinking it too. I see where the airport is supposed to be. And right on top of it is a cloud that had to be touching the moon. And in my head, I'm like, we can definitely get into this airport. We can shoot the approach. But then when we depart, we won't be able to depart VFR. This is a mountainous airport. So we are going to be tied to these specific routes, these specific performance calculations that our airplane is going to be doing. And we're going to have to fly into that ugly cloud.
Yes, because although you could deviate in cruise and up to you get pretty close to the airport, when you're departing an airport, especially one like this, like Kevin said, then those specific flight routes you are bound to because there's mountains.
There's mountains. There's no option because we would rather not hit a mountain and we would rather fly into a cloud. Those are the options, right? But
not good options.
We had more options in the moment. And that's when, Mindy told me, all right, let them know we want to go back to Jackson County.
I know. And I felt so bad making that call because up to this point, was several hours of us waiting on the ground. I was laying across the seats in Mojo, sulking. I was sulking. I was really upset and sad because we are just both we've been working so hard and we just wanted this day to go fly together and it was going to be an easy flight. We're going to go get lunch. It's going to be a great date. And now we are working hard. And we're in this flight. So, and then we're finally getting up to the airport, and I'm like, man, if we land, go get lunch, come back and depart, all this stuff is going to be even worse. It's going to be even worse. And it's already difficult. So we get up there. It's about a 45-minute flight. And it was gorgeous. Like, we did break out and we could see these gorgeous lakes and we can see the mountains and stuff. But there's a lot of towering cumulonimbus clouds growing. So then I look at Kevin. I'm like, I hate to say this, but we should not land and spend time here. It's going to be really difficult to get home, if that's even an option at that point. We might be stuck on the ground there for several hours. So we agree that we're going to tell ATC that we're going to turn around and go home. I still think it was a win because we got to fly the plane. We got to fly the plane together. We got to accomplish something kind of difficult, unexpectedly. So then we tell them that we're going to turn around. And then Kevin, of course, listening into ATC, you can tell that this controller was down the shitter, as you say.
He was getting throttled.
His teeth kicked in.
So
it was busy
fun
out.
fact, guys, if it's IFR conditions and there's not thunderstorms that have developed yet, that is the worst case scenario for a controller, because now every single person they're talking to is on an IFR flight plan, so they're responsible for the separation. Nobody was getting a word in any way, shape, or form.
And since it's unexpected IFR, there's a lot of planes out flying that are having to get pop-up IFRs. Hey, I can't see the airport. I can't get in. So it just puts so much pressure on
How many people did you hear getting deviations? I mean, we were hearing jets and everybody, and like there's nothing on the radar. So
Several people in holds.
So many people in holds. So like on the controller side, they don't understand why this is happening to them because they only see precipitation. They don't see this giant thing that will literally flip our airplane upside down, even though it's not rain.
Yeah.
Right. And
it's not on their radar. So they see that the METAR says clear, as we do. And they're like, why are these planes asking for deviations?
What is going on? So long story short, that 20 minutes we were with this poor guy, nothing was going on because there was just it was just a madness. So we're at 7,000 feet and we were at the initial approach fix back to Jackson County because of course it didn't lift. It was still 800 feet over. And I keep trying to get lower and there was no hope. And
we asked and you said, hey, because me and you are sweating now. We're at 7,000 feet. And the final approach fix for the glide slope starts at 2,800. And we're maybe 4 miles from the final approach fix. And so we're asking, hey, we need lower. They're like, ask for lower with the next sector with Atlanta approach when I switch you over. We're like, okay, well, switch us over. We're like on the approach.
So this is where my ATC knowledge comes in. Like this airport is on a boundary. So I look at I'm like, it is what it is. We're just going to have to go to approach. They're going to vector us around. So he finally switches us over. We're past the initial approach fix. We're literally 2 minutes away from when we should have been landing. And Atlanta approach goes, Skylane 3802 Delta, do you think you can get down from there? And I'm
nope.
I'm like, nope. And he's like,
he goes, center left you guys really high. We're like, we know we asked for lower and they denied. He's like,
you just hear the gasp, like, come on, guys. So he, panicked, delay vectored us around. We were still high, and he goes, hey, 02 Delta, you think if I turn you on right now, you can get down? And I look at I'm like, we got this. We have to. So he turned us in. Mindy did a great job, got us down. We broke out at 800 feet and saw the airport. And like Mindy was saying earlier, we were able to slow down, have a nice stable approach. We landed, and I got to be honest with you, I felt super fulfilled. Like, that was an exciting flight because it utilized so many tools that we worked so freaking hard to stay proficient on. We had to call clearance on the ground with our headsets to get an IFR.
Through our cell phone. Which a lot of pilots don't practice doing, but we're at an uncontrolled airport. There is an RCO, which means theoretically you should be able to use the aircraft radios to reach ATC to get your clearance. However, where we've not done that at this airport yet. So I think that where we were at the runway was not the right place to use the RCO, and they couldn't hear us. We could hear them, but they couldn't hear us. So we ended up calling on the cell phone.
Right.
Which is good practice, by the way. If you guys haven't done that in a while, or if you've never done that in your IFR, be sure to try that out, because you're going to need to do that at some point.
Try it out. We had to fly an obstacle departure procedure, which I never thought in my entire life I would have to do at Jackson County.
Yeah.
We had
There's towers around us.
Right.
Though.
We had to deviate. Then we had to shoot a real approach back in. So, like, the lesson that I want you guys listening to take away is make sure you guys are staying proficient. Whether that's studying in the books, doing flights with instructors, because like what we just did, I would never recommend doing unless you have absolute confidence in yourself and your aircraft. Mindy and I are very proficient. I am probably more proficient than ever at this current moment.
Yeah, you just went through like a IFR check ride on steroids.
On steroids.
To get your ATP.
So my point to you guys listening is like things like this can happen. Unforecasted weather to the point where it was a legit hair puller type of flight, but we were prepared, we were ready, and we understood what to do. And I want you guys to take that away. Like, things can happen. You have your IFR ticket. You're going to take off an 800-foot overcast when it says it's clear 10 miles away. And guess what? It might not be.
And then by the time we got back, it was now 2.5 hours after our home airport forecasted to be clear in a million VFR, and it was still overcast 800. We did not even expect to have to fly an approach to get back into our home airport.
Right. So guys, stay proficient. Please keep up on the books.
Yes. And a word about external pressures. When you are in flight school, you're taught about external pressures. And what is that? And what does that mean? And when you're taught it in flight school, it's really hard to understand what external pressures really means, because they poise it to you as, all right, you're a commercial pilot now and your boss says you must be there, or your pushback time is this time and look at this storm coming over. That's external pressures. Or there's a person waiting for you at the other end with a beating heart that needs to be transported. That's external pressure. But external pressure sometimes comes in a form that is way unexpected. So for us on this flight, this was a flight that didn't need to happen. Right? We just wanted to fly our plane. We wanted to stay current and proficient, and we wanted to go fly with each other. That's why we own an airplane.
That's my favorite date thing to do with you.
But it's an external pressure that felt really heavy yesterday, because Kevin and I haven't had a weekend day off together in months where we just had the day to go fly. And when the weather was forecasted to be wonderful and we get there and it wasn't, we had so much pressure to make even this joy flight happen, because the next time that we're going to have available to fly together is TBD.
TBD.
No idea. And this is the first time it's happened in a long time. So it is external pressure. It's really hard to describe. And again, it's like, you know, with other people, especially not understanding how you come to these decisions. Thankfully, we're married pilots, so we understand, and we weren't pressuring each other, at least. But one funny thing I want to point out. Do you know what I'm about to say?
That I have to pee again?
No. One funny thing is that when we were coming in on the approach, you guys know that Kevin.
Oh my God.
Kevin used to be an air traffic controller. So the controller, as we got really close to landing, he's like, frequency change approved, cancel IFR in the air or on the ground. Let me know if you need the phone number. And at this point we were visual and Kevin was doing comms, and Kevin came back. You almost canceled yourself.
I did. I said IFR cancellation received squawk 120 air frequency change approved.
He didn't say the whole sentence, but he started it, and I looked at him and just started dying laughing, because he started doing the controller part of the cancellation. Instead of saying, yeah, we'd like to cancel right now as a pilot, he started doing what the controller was supposed to say, saying IFR cancellation received squawk VFR. And you started saying it, and I just started dying laughing because I knew that you were thinking you were the controller for a second. You've never done that before.
No, that was great. Well, thanks for listening to us. Stay proficient. I mean it. Like, it's so important because you never know. Like, I can't stress how ridiculous the weather forecasting was yesterday, but like, you're going to get put in a situation like that. So make sure you're proficient. As always, Mindy,
head to our website, CaptainJohnDoe.com. Submit your aviation story to our show. It's fully anonymous. No tail numbers, no names. It's exactly what we read right here, right now on our show every single Wednesday. You can submit an aviation story about anything, whether you're a flight attendant, a mechanic, a pilot, or just a passenger going through a terminal and you saw something crazy. Send it in to us. We want to hear it. You can also ask us for advice. There's a drop-down menu on our website. Follow us on social media. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We don't miss an episode, so why should you? Leave a review and a rating. It's so very helpful. As you guys know, this is a passion project for us. We self-produce it, and we absolutely love it. And the way that you guys can help us and support us is by leaving a review and a rating.
just like Fly Tonight did. This is my candy. 5 stars.
5 stars only.
I've been listening to other aviation podcasts, and while I believe they're good podcasts, Captain John Doe is my candy. I love listening to and from work or while doing whatever project I'm on at the time. My favorite hostess, Mindy,
Heyo!
and my favorite assistant to Mindy, host Kevin, are fantastic. Your chemistry is just amazing. I truly appreciate the efforts you kids put into this passion project of yours. So a big thank you for coming up with this podcast. I will submit my story soon and will patiently await its airing on the show. On a side note, love your Chase and Tailwinds videos and hope to one day meet you both at Sun and Fun. Fly safe and keep the dirty side down.
Hell yeah. We will meet you at Sun and Fun. I love Sun and Fun.
I know.
Y'all know that. We'll be there.
Guess what today is?
Merch draw.
Merch day. We're doing a merch giveaway at the end of every single month for all of 2026. And guess what? Some lucky winner's going to get it. And while they do that, I'm going to go to the bathroom while you pick the winner.
Are you actually?
Yes. So do it.
Oh my goodness.
Do it.
Okay, I'm on the World Wide Web right now, and the wheel of names is spinning. You guys get entries by leaving us a review or going on our Instagram and commenting on any of our merch giveaway posts. It gets you an automatic entry. And our winner for August is Brad Garnett. Congrats, Brad. We will be reaching out to you to get your address to send you a really dope box of merch. That's the only way to get Captain John Doe merch right now. We're doing this all year long in 2026, just as a thank you for you guys supporting us and our show. It's the least we could do to send out some merch to some of you guys. By the way, I will say I got a little behind on this. Our July and August merch boxes will be going out this week. So to young jet setter Danielle, we've been unpacking our house as we moved across the country, and now I have all of our merch in one nice little spot, and I am ready to send out both of those boxes. So I'm so sorry on your delay on your July box, but we will be sending both of those out this week. Again, leave us a review that gets you an automatic merch entry. All you have to do after you leave a review is just send us an email, a DM, or put it on our website. It doesn't matter. We see that, so we see it however you guys send it in, and then you're entered for the merch drawing.
Congrats, Brad.
Congrats.
All right, man. Let's start it off with a story time.
Alrighty. My first 3 months of independent instructing after my CFI check ride in September of 2024 were rough. I had no reputation in my local area to draw in new students, and there was 2 other instructors in the area that I had to compete with. One day, I finally got the call, an older farmer who had held his private pilot certificate since the early 90s but hadn't flown in a few years. He wasn't looking to get current and signed off for a flight review. He just wanted to dip his toes back into the aviation pool. Basically, a discovery flight with an old guy who didn't expect me to teach much. Should be an easy one, right? We set up a time and the weather was looking great. No clouds, calm winds, a late afternoon flight time. He showed up 15 minutes early with his logbook, and I got my first surprise when I saw the last entry was in January of 2004, a few months before I was even born.
It's an insane statement.
No worries. Again, he wasn't expecting me to get him proficient or anything like that. He did the pre-flight on our rental Cherokee 180 under my supervision. He became a little nervous after startup, but he had a huge smile on his face as we climbed out and cruised over his farm about 10 miles from the airport. He performed a beautiful demonstration of slow flight in a couple of steep turns. And as we headed back to the airport, I offered to help him take a landing. He agreed, apprehensively, to shadow me on the controls for a landing, and if he felt good, he'd take the second landing while I shadowed him on the controls. Our first landing was routine, and he seemed excited to take a shot at it. He flew the pattern perfectly, turning final just a touch low, but he corrected without me prompting him. We came down to short final, and I noticed he was slow and getting low on the glide slope. Power just a little, I said, immediately realizing my mistake when he responded, "Power out? Okay." And he brought the throttle to just above idle. I felt my face go white as the pappies all went red and I pushed the throttle back up. In hindsight, I should have gone around, but we got on the ground and parked the plane with no further excitement. I'll never forget the wise words of Chapter 4, page 5 of the Aviation Instructor Handbook ever again.
I love these stories from like new CFIs. Like you just hired 2 of them. And I had this chat with one of our new guys literally yesterday about something like this is going to happen in your near term, right? Where a student does something that tries to take you out of the sky. So I love that you kept pushing to get customers. And also the fact that this happened to you so early on in your career, I promise you, whoever you are, you're probably a pretty exceptional instructor right now. Because when these weird anomalies happen, we as humans fight or flight, right? And it looks like you fought right away. And I think that it's a really, really important lesson for new instructors, especially young instructors. You were born later than 2004. You're a kid. So great freaking job.
Yeah, so what this instructor is talking about, Chapter 4 in the instructor handbook, is effective communication. And this is so important, but it is actually extremely difficult because when you are trying to communicate and trying to get communication out at a time like on short final, you don't have time to put your thoughts together, right? And if you're not experienced, you're a newer instructor, you don't have your go-to phrases memorized yet. This is just a rite of passage, and this is exactly what new instructors go through. This is not unique to you, and it's not unique to me. I have done the same thing. So when this instructor said, quote, "power just a little," they meant power, meaning add power just a little. But when the words came out, power just a little, the student took it as power, like just a little bit of power, meaning pull it all out except just a little. So the student did exactly what was communicated, but there was ineffective communication, right? Because they didn't say clearly what they meant. And especially with new students or someone rusty like this, communication is key, but it's so hard to get the right words out. I've done this before. So instead of saying power just a little, it should have been add power. Right. That should be the words. Or if you want someone to actually have power just a little, you would say throttle idle. It's just those key words to get effective communication are so important at places like short final, because you don't really have time to correct and say, no, I meant add power. The only thing you have time to do is to shove it in yourself. And then your student gets frustrated because they're like, what did I do wrong? I did exactly what you said. And now you have white face and you look like a ghost. Like and that's a great learning moment for all.
Absolutely. Like Mindy said, it's a rite of passage. I did the same thing. I would say power, and they would pull it out.
But what does that mean? Yeah.
Right. And then like we go and debrief and they're like, what did I do wrong? And then I realize in the moment,
they didn't do anything
my
wrong.
Communication was bad, and we talk about it, and then we set the ground rules again. This is like 101 CFIN, and there is no book. I mean, obviously chapter 4, page 5, but it doesn't say how to tell the student to do specific tasks, right?
No, it just talks about how vocabulary is key, that especially with students coming from different backgrounds, that you might say a word that they associate to something else. And so that's why it's so important to go over these things with a new student. It's going to be so hard to remember this, but in a briefing, when you're teaching traffic patterns, it might behoove you to say, hey, okay, I'm going to do my best to communicate effectively. And if we're on short final, I'm either going to say add power, meaning push the throttle in, or power idle, meaning pull it out. And I'm going to use those two phrases. That way we are always in clear communication. Will you remember to brief that? Probably not. But if you do, you're going to be a top tier instructor.
Let's hope so.
Real quick too, I want to point out that they said they were an independent instructor. So that means an independent instructor does not work for a flight school, and that it is on their own shoulders to get their own students, and said that there was some competition. There's some other independent instructors. Kevin, what are some tips that you would say to an independent instructor on how to get clients?
Number 1, Facebook groups.
Social media.
Number 2, flight clubs. Number 3, sleep at the airport. Like, honestly, I know I'm joking, but like, where are you going to find people that are flying? On the local airport page, at the local flying club. Typically local flying clubs will either be 1 or 2. They will allow instruction or they won't. If they do, great place to go look.
Right. I think that 20, 30 years ago, it was probably really difficult to be an independent instructor unless you grew up in aviation and everyone knows who you are, or everyone knows who your family is, and everyone, you have this huge network. But if you may be like Kevin and I, new to aviation, how are you going to get your name out there? And this day and age, in 2026, it is strikingly easy to create yourself your own brand and business. And what I would do as an independent instructor, I would create business cards. I use a program called Canva online to do all my graphic design and stuff. They have templates that are gorgeous. They look professional, like a professional marketing company did it for you. And you can even print straight from their website. You don't even have to download it and go to some other print shop. It's a one-stop shop. So I would create business cards and I would create some flyers. I'd put it up in the local FBOs, local flight schools, have your business cards on you all the time. And then, like Kevin said, I would be posting in local Facebook groups. So if you're like, oh, I don't know if my area has one, you do. I promise you do. For example, even though we're not in Atlanta Metro, I would be typing in Atlanta pilots, and you'll see 10 Facebook groups of Atlanta area pilots. And then you would post in there, hey guys, I'm an independent instructor. Here's what I specialize in. Make sure that you say things like that. Don't just say, oh, I'm an instructor. Really speak to your student that you're trying to achieve. I teach in a Cherokee 180. I specialize in private pilot instrument rating and commercial ratings. My availability is 7 days a week. I can fly with you anytime. I fly out of these airports. Be as specific as you can, because then you're going to find the right clients.
I'm going to give you the best advice I think I can give. Being an independent flight instructor is very challenging. Some people do awesome with it. Most of your clientele are going to be like this person you flew, an older individual, because most younger students are going to go to a school. It's just what they're going to do. So guess what? Mindy just hired an independent flight instructor. Guess what he's coming to the school with? Students. If you have a Rolodex of students, that might be the easiest way you can get a job. I'm just saying that. I'm just throwing a little secret out there.
For a flight school.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, at the end of the day, being an independent flight instructor can be great. It has its own challenges. But if you can come to a school and have that protection and that brick and mortar and everything else, a team of people, and you have students to bring, I bet you they're going to offer you a job.
Maybe so.
Anywho's, great stories. We can go on and on. I'm going to read the next one.
All right, Kevin, the next anonymous story.
I was recently in Fort Lauderdale at El Camino Mexican restaurant, which has an amazing happy hour, hanging with my family, and of course we got on the topic of airplanes, when all of a sudden a guy leaned in and said, "Hey, I hear you guys talking about jets over here." He introduced himself as a current major airline jet captain. Don't snort.
Sorry.
I told him about your show, looking for good material, and he had this story to share. He was flying a Gulfstream to Ireland, corporate charter, bunch of golfers in the back. Apparently they were a nightmare before the airplane ever moved. Rude to the crew, complaining about the catering, the ice, the booze. He said he had the galley stocked full of minis, and somehow before pushback, the liquor drawer was already empty. A couple of the guys had helped themselves. He actually had to crawl into the baggage area and restock liquor before departure. That's when he knew the trip was going to be long. Once airborne, it got worse. Loud, obnoxious, slamming cabinets, wandering around during climb, just doing dumb stuff you really don't want happening on a long ocean crossing. He said he wasn't worried about safety so much as his sanity. At some point he's thinking, I need these guys to chill out. Now, according to him, pilots know two things pretty well. Alcohol hits harder at altitude. Mild hypoxia doesn't knock people out. It just makes them tired and sluggish.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if this is going where I think it's going. Normally, he said he runs a very comfortable cabin, like around 5,000 feet. This time, he quietly let the cabin altitude drift up closer to 8,000 feet. Nothing extreme, totally within normal limits, no alarms, no warnings, nothing passengers would notice. He said it was almost comical. One by one, these big, loud golfers, guys not exactly in marathon shape, just started winding down. Voices got quieter. Seats reclined. Snoring followed. Within maybe 20 minutes, half the cabin was asleep. The rest of the flight, smooth, quiet, enjoyable. Best transatlantic leg he'd had in a while. About 30 minutes before descent, he brought the cabin back down to its usual lower altitude. Everyone woke up fine, just blamed it on jet lag. No complaints, no idea what happened, and he said that was the worst group of passengers he'd ever had, and thankfully the only time he ever felt tempted to do something like that.
This is a master class.
I'm not going to comment on this. This is all you.
Oh my goodness. That is hilarious. I've never heard of someone doing this. This is this goes in the bag of tricks.
I started reading it and I saw where this is going. I was like, he's not going to do this, is he?
That's hilarious.
He did it.
This is nothing illegal. This is
Just
nothing.
explain real quick to the listeners what they're talking about with the cabin altitude.
So in the jets, if you, what were they in, a Gulfstream?
Yeah.
The Gulfstream has an amazing pressurized cabin of 5,000 feet, which means that the cabin feels like you're at 5,000 feet of altitude, even though you're cruising in the 40s. And 40 something thousand.
Even though you're 5 miles up in the sky.
So it feels really comfortable. You can live in a mountainous town above 5,000 feet. So it's a very comfortable cabin altitude. But he let the cabin altitude go up to 8,000 feet. And the higher the cabin altitude, the more sluggish you're going to feel, as he said.
Why might that be? Because there's less oxygen.
There's less oxygen. So other jets have an 8,000 foot cabin altitude because they're not as kick-ass as a Gulfstream. So this is nothing that's unsafe, but a little trick that this guy must have learned from someone or came up with, which is kind of genius, which is hilarious. Definitely not protocol, I'll say. But putting it to 8,000 feet, put them all to sleep like little puppies. And I think that's hilarious. Again, they're not hypoxic. 8,000 feet's fine.
To be fair, if you guys have ever gone skiing, you've been higher than 8,000 feet. Just, picture yourself skiing right now and you get super, super tired. It's the same exact thing. But add booze into the equation, their blood is like mud.
I have never heard of someone doing this. This is absolutely freaking hilarious.
There's no oxygen moving in their blood.
This is exactly the type of anonymous stories that I want, because someone who's probably not gonna, like, although not illegal, they don't want to slap their name on this. This is absolutely hilarious.
So for my private pilot students out there learning or trying to take their check ride, name the 2 types of hypoxia these passengers probably experienced, and then write it in.
Okay, that's absolutely hilarious. Okay, two other things. To the listener, or not listener, to the writer that wrote this into us, thank you for being out and about and promoting our show.
I know. Thanks.
You're a badass and you're amazing and you're a top tier doughhead. Thank you. That's freaking cool. I snorted a little because the guy overheard you guys talking about planes and had to introduce himself as a jet captain.
Major airline jet captain.
How will you know someone's a jet captain?
They tell you.
They'll tell you. That's why I just laughed when I heard that he overheard, inserted himself. That way he could be like, well, I'm a jet captain. I just had to laugh at that. But it looks like you guys turned it into a fascinating conversation.
I want to meet this jet captain because, wow.
That's hilarious.
Great story, though.
We actually have one more for you guys. We're going to do 3 stories today.
Why not? We've been talking a lot about ourselves lately, and we know that, and we know this podcast is only made possible because of you guys.
Yeah,
so
and we
go
need
for it, man.
We need to start churning through some stories because I'm starting to get people saying, "Oh, I've been listening forever, and where's my story?"
Yeah. By the way, you guys who are emailing us, we have not skipped them. I promise. We just we're moving and grooving.
We got them.
We have. I don't want to say we have a lot of stories because then you guys aren't going to submit. We don't have any stories, but guess what? We have stories. We have some stories.
Actually, the story submissions have slowed down, so you guys keep putting them in there. We will be reading them, I promise. This one is titled "Accidental First Cross Country." I wonder what that means.
It sounds like he accidentally went on a cross country.
All right. I soloed December 24th, 1967. I cannot find this flight in my logbook, but it happened shortly thereafter. I had around 10 to 12 hours of flight training at that point. I showed up at the Salem, Oregon flight school, and the new-to-me instructor said he had to go up to Aloha, about 40 miles north. So I climbed into the left seat of the 150, and off we went. He had me do everything: the takeoff, follow I-5 north, land at this uncontrolled field, and park. The instructor disappeared for a bit and then came back with another kid. I was a high school sophomore at the time. He then walked me over to an older 150 and had me get in the pilot seat. Told me that he just had to work with this other kid for a bit. He said that I'd be just fine. Just follow I-5 south and start talking with Salem Tower shortly after I left Aloha. I was on the base leg to land at Salem before I realized that this 150 didn't have electrical flaps. There was this strange parking brake thing between the seats. I wonder if this moves the flaps. It took a bit of pressure, but the flaps came down a bit, and I figured that I'd have to do that as we turned to final, as that was imminent. I landed, taxied in, shut down, made it to the FBO front door where I saw the owner standing with folded arms. "Where's so-and-so?" I've forgotten his name, and it wasn't even in my logbook. "I don't know. He told me to fly home from Aloha." "Is everything okay?" "Yep, I even figured out the manual flaps on the base leg." I never did see that instructor again. Hence, there was no logbook entry or sign-off in my logbook. My last logbook entry from that school was July 5th, 1968. Shortly thereafter, I moved to a boarding school near Hillsborough and didn't fly again until 1969 with a flight school at Hillsborough. My first logged cross-country happened June 13th, 1969.
The story is just like, it doesn't even make sense. So this guy, did the instructor not know that this guy never soloed before?
No, he did solo, but he never did a solo cross country.
Right. You're a flight school owner, so this one would probably...
Okay, I have so many questions. So what the hell was this other 150? So there's 2 150s in this story. They flew one up, then the instructor puts him in one that he's never seen before and says, "I'll just fly it home." Didn't do a checkout with him to, like, not like a flight checkout because it's a 150, but not like, "Hey, by the way, this one has manual flaps. This is how you use it." Yes, the manual flaps in aircraft look like a parking brake lever in a car.
Right.
It's right next to you. It's a big lever with a button.
It's called a Johnson bar. Look it up.
It's like an e-brake in a car, it looks like. And you press the button, and it does take a lot of force because you are manually putting the flaps into an aircraft that's flying, a 150,
still moving
80 miles an hour or whatever. But still, you're forcibly putting flaps into the air. So if you're not used to it and you didn't get a proper briefing on it, I can see how that would be very confusing. But also, obviously, the instructor sounds like did not sign his logbook entry for a solo cross country, which is a requirement.
Clearly.
But then, did he come back in the other 150? And if so, why didn't he send his student back in the 150 that student was familiar with?
So my takeaway is this guy clearly had a little bit more trust from the instructor than the other guy that was already on a cross country. That's my guess is what's going on is they both were on a cross country. Buddy was with his instructor, landed at the other airport. Other student was not comfortable. Instructor said, go back in this plane and good luck. I'm going to go back with this other student, which is quite insane. Things were different in the 60s, I would imagine.
Wouldn't know.
Wouldn't know. But yeah, no endorsement.
Yeah,
and a different it's a different airplane. I understand a 150 is a 150, but something with electrical flaps versus manual flaps is not the same. Anyone who has flown that understand what we're talking about. They are not the same. They might fly the same airspeed, but...
Yeah, we've come a long way in flight training in the last 50-something years since this has happened. Luckily, it's a lot more structured now. I will say the immense amount of structure that we have now is totally necessary, but it does make people think it's so much harder than what it is.
Yes, that comes a lot, where they think it's...
Does that make sense?
Becoming a brain surgeon. I agree.
Because we have, and I'm not saying that any structure shouldn't be in place, so don't take this the wrong way. But since we have all these rules and regulations and endorsements and show me your cross-country flight planning and all that, totally necessary, but it makes students feel like it's so much harder than what it is. Because now look at this story from 50-something years ago, where the instructor's like, yeah, just follow the highway back. When you get close, call this frequency and they'll clear you to land. And that's just how easy it is.
That's it.
Yeah. So I guess maybe taking the mentality of this of it's really not that hard. Let's follow the rules and regulations and make sure we're safe and we, check all of our boxes. But also
just follow the highway back.
It doesn't have to be that difficult. Let's not overthink it either.
That's a good point. It's a good little takeaway.
I think so. Well, great stories as always. We love you guys and we love your stories. These always surprise me.
Yeah. Remember, dough heads, stay proficient.
Don't give in to external pressures.
Rep the brand like the other guy did. Yeah. And come back next Wednesday for another episode.
Bye.
See ya. Thanks for flying with Captain John Doe. If you have a story to share, visit CaptainJohnDoe.com and stay anonymous. New episodes every Wednesday. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tell your favorite crew members.